Okay, welcome to another edition of Buc What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Super Heavyweight. You follow me, I'll follow you back. Love talking football and other sports and life in general. And tonight is a special night because I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues, Rick Brown from FanRag Productions. And, I'm going to start with you, Rick, because you've got so much experience in writing. You wrote with ESPN. I mean, you've done so much, and I really appreciate your insight because you're a straight shooter when it comes to talking sports. So, Rick Brown, thank you for joining me, and tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
Hey, Gene, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate it. You can find me on Twitter at RickBrown91. You also can find my work at fanragsports.com. Check out NFL. I usually cover the NFL South as well as the NFL East, so you find me there, and we can go for it.
All right. And Peter Blake, how you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm doing great, buddy. How are you doing?
Doing real good. The only sports talk radio show, FM sports talk radio show on Saturdays. Peter Blake, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
The only FM sports talk show on Saturday afternoons from 3 to 5 on the Tan Talk Sports Network. It's the Sports Web. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about, along with my co-host, Sean the Sports Don.
And you know what? This is a special show because this is a man that's been very hard. It's very hard to get him on camera. But I have been able to do this 2 times to get him on camera. My man, Sean, the Sports Don. How you doing tonight, my brother?
Hey, you know me, man. I'm loving life.
Uh-oh, did we lose you? Uh-oh, I think we lost him. Hey, you better get some. You better pay that ISP bill, man, and get some Roadrunner or something. Because we ain't seeing you, man.
He's still there, I think.
Yeah, I think we lost him for a minute. I think he's trying to chime back.
No, I'm back, baby. I'm back.
Better leave that T-Mobile alone.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
listen,
and get with me.
What you got, Metro PCS?
Wait, hold on. This is the reason why I everybody's show. Because I made jump off. You know,
all right.
I got aluminum foil. I got aluminum foil on the rabbit ears. But at the same time, the reason why I come to your show, Mr. Gene, is because I know you bring the passion, you bring the real. So that's why I'm here today. And yes, you can catch me 3 to 5 Saturdays all the time on Tan Talk. We bring the passion, we bring the excitement. We just don't bring any nonsense. What's up, fellas?
And Bucs fans, if you can, please check this guy out. This show is excellent. They give you your own walk-up music when you call in. And, you could talk about any sport you want to, from the Rays to the Lightning, and especially the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So please, if you get a chance, check the show out. Saturdays, what is it, 3 to 5?
3 to 5, sir. That's what's up.
3 to 5 Tampa time. So please check them out. And Sean, what are you guys working on for the show this weekend?
Well, I'm gonna leave that up to Spider. Spider, tell him what you want to work on.
He's left the building for a moment.
Yeah?
He should be back shortly.
Well, I say what we're working on. We're gonna recap the draft again. Mr. Rick Brown, hopefully you're going to be a part of that. You've been missing in action the last couple of weeks. Well, we're going to definitely recap the draft, talk about what the Bucs are going to do moving forward. And obviously on paper, they look well. They look really, really good. But whether or not they're really going to be able to build on what they've done on paper, we want to talk about that. I want to talk a little bit. I want to get a little bit into some NBA playoffs. I want to get into a little bit of that. So, and obviously, again, when the fans call in, they can talk about what they want to talk about. So whatever they want to talk about, we down for it.
All right. And fans, please, like I said, just give them a try. Check it out. You will be very happy with the content on the show. And, speaking of the draft, I want to jump right into the draft. And, you know, everybody, this is the most, as a Bucs fan, I'm just looking at a fan's perspective. This is the most polarizing draft I've seen. You had so many different people that wanted different things from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it's been so long since the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have drafted this low in the draft at the number 19 position. So what you saw, instead of seeing somebody getting somebody in the top 10, you're kind of having to wait till all these different scenarios cycle through in order to get to where you are. And I want to start out with Rick Brown. And it's Spider and Sean, I'm going to get to you guys next. But Rick Brown, FanRag Productions, FanRag Sports, excuse me, I keep saying Productions. I got that in my head. But did a really good article. And please go to FanRag Sports and then choose the NFL. Then go to NFC South and choose the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And you will find his articles. He did an article on the draft. And it looks like he gave the Tampa Bay Buccaneers overall a B-. And I believe that's correct where we were. But, you know, I'm right there with him. And, you know, I thought that, what he was talking about and the way he was describing it made sense. And, you know, I'm getting ready to give everybody a chance to talk, but, you know, I got a lot I really want to get out there right now. Tampa has had so many problems with the draft, from Mark Dominic back to Bruce Allen, picks that were made that didn't come to fruition. And what we're seeing is a general manager who's a personnel general manager. And based on a lot of the picks that he's made, I won't say all of them, but a lot of the picks he made, players have been able to come in and contribute right off the gate. And this draft right here, we'll kind of have to wait and see. Outside of the number one pick, Rick, I'm going to start with you. You know, on your article, you know, past the number one pick, what are your thoughts on some of the other picks? And are there any players that you're specifically looking at that could make a difference for this team?
Well, I don't want to leave out the first pick because I think this is a very important pick. You know, I was talking to a couple of people in the Buccaneers office before the draft, and I said this was my 9th draft covering at One Buc Place. It was my ninth draft at One Buc Place. And for the first time in 9 years, I had no clue where this team was going. I had no clue. I looked at the roster. I looked at the free agents they got. I had no clue because you could have made a case for almost every position across the board, sans quarterback, of course, and kicker. But that's how they've grown, and I believe they were so solid at a lot of positions that when they picked OJ up, it was like, oh, okay, now I see why they picked them, because they thought they had a dynamic tight end with Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
Right.
But because of injuries and other things, now he's no longer on the team. With O.J. Howard, I think they haven't upgraded Austin Seferian-Jenkins. What they expected from ASJ, this guy does, and he's done it in big games. Yeah. So I couldn't leave out that pick. The rest of the picks were interesting to me. I could see he was going because, again, I didn't think the Bucs had many needs. You could draft for depth purposes. You could draft for you could go off the best player available. You know, I thought he reached a couple of times when he jumped back into the jump back in rounds to get guys who are injured or who've had cases of injuries. But
you're speaking of
one thing about Jason Light
in the third. You're speaking of jumping back in the third round, right?
Yeah. But speaking of Jason Light, I mean, Jason Light is a risk taker, and if he has been on a guy since his sophomore year in college, and he really likes that guy, he's going to take a chance on him. So, you know, and you have to sometimes. The draft is a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick,
go ahead, Sean. Jump on in there.
It is definitely a crapshoot, but we've heard Jason Light himself say no no risk it, no biscuit. Okay, so obviously the linebacker we drafted, if he wasn't injured, he possibly could have been a second-round draft pick. That's what they're saying about this young man. So for them to see him at 3, just like Quan Alexander, they had a second-round draft grade on Quan Alexander. Obviously, they didn't pick him in the second round because we had to go offensive line. But when he was sitting there in the 4th round, they had to go up there and get that young man. Okay, now, when you talked about the first-round draft pick, and I know Spider don't want to hear it, but if you think about it, I'm going to pat myself on the back. The last three out of the 4 years, I've actually picked the Bucs draft picks 3 of the last 4 years. I was a big Mike Evans fan. I was a big Jameis Winston fan, and I was definitely on O.J. Howard. I didn't know O.J. Howard would fall to us, but at the same time, that's the guy I wanted. So I'm giving Jason Light all the credit because, like you just said, he is a guy who's not like Mark Dominic. He's not like Bruce Allen. He's a real talent evaluator, and the Bucs are in a great position based on his talent evaluation. That's why I'm riding with these Bucs right now.
All right. And Spider, I want you to jump on in here, man. You've been the quiet man over here. I need your voice. I need to hear you. Uh-oh, I can't hear you. You're all right. Spider's having technical difficulties. He's gonna
technical issues, Spider.
All right. But you know what I like about this draft is they grab some players that I think will be able to help this team in specific positions. And you know, I know that a lot of these players, this is just conjecture right here. They're I see a lot of players that will compete for position or playing time on Sundays. So that's the one thing that you want is when you draft somebody. What did Leo Haggerty? How did Leo Haggerty put it? The first round is to play. Second round is to
contribute. I believe. I don't know. I can't. It's to contribute. Obviously, when you get to round about 4, 5, 6, you're looking for depth. And maybe one of those guys could turn out to be something. And that's what's so key. And let's talk about this. The 7th round draft pick, I read an article today where I guess the Washington Post talked about Stevie T. Where he could actually be a household name based off his run stopping ability. Now, I had to take a step back and say, wow, is this guy really that good? Did the Bucs, he's 26 years old, did the Bucs get a steal in the 7th round? And if they did, again, hats off to Jason Light.
Well, you kind of have to taper. You kind of have to taper your expectations right now. He was drafted in the 7th round. He has to go out there and earn that spot.
But in the 7th
round, 7th. Did I say 7th?
In the 7th round, supposedly though, in college football, he was the 2nd best rated run stopper in college, next to the guy who went number 3 overall. So again, he's 26, but again, you're looking at this guy, you're looking at value when you get to number 7,
right?
When you get to the 7th round. So if Jason Light has found a gem like he did with Panfield, like he did with Benstock, I mean, you gotta say that's another feather in the cap of Jason Light.
Yeah, most definitely. Corey Harris, one of the people that's listening to the show tonight, he was asking, do you think that we've improved on drafting Jeremy McNichols, or will Martin still be better? That remains to be seen. Ultimately, they have to go out and earn that spot. Jason Light has pretty much made it clear that he wants competition in camp. That's what makes a team better, having that competition.
I don't think McNichols is competing for the starting job. I'm sorry. I think that starting job, once Doug Martin gets back, is his. Or they would have drafted Peter's boy, Davin Cook.
Yeah.
So I think the person who should be looking over his shoulders is Charles Sims.
Yeah.
Because McNichols is similar to him.
Yeah.
In terms of size, in terms of pass catching abilities. This guy can be another Charles Sims. So if I was Charles Sims, when I come into camp, I better be ready.
And the big knock on Charles Sims is just not being healthy. This kid McNichols has nice hands.
He was a wide receiver.
I saw passes thrown behind this kid, and he's catching it.
But you got to remember, he was a wide receiver in high school and his first year in college. So that's why he caught 88 passes the last 2 years. Okay,
his hands are nice.
And I'm gonna tell you this, Rick Brown. I think every running back on that roster is on notice because you're not guaranteed a spot right now. So Charles Sims, Peyton Barber, Jacquizz Rodgers, I think all of them have to work because one thing I do like about Jason Light is if he makes a mistake, whether it's through free agency, whether it's through drafts, we've seen it with Kenny Bell. We see it right now with our kicker. Like, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, he will cut bait with you in a year or 2 years. We saw what Austin Seferian-Jenkins. He gets that from Bill Belichick. So that's what he's doing now. So I think all the running backs are on notice. And Doug Martin is one of those guys because he has those issues that he's had in the past. Throughout the last 4 years, he's had bad seasons. And obviously, he had a drug issue last year. All those guys on notice. And if you're not ready to step up to the plate, Mr. Jason Light will cut you very fast. And that's why, again, I'm riding with Jason Light.
Your response.
I can't argue with that. I mean, he has, when he's drafted, when he's either taken bad players in free agency, a la Anthony Collins, a la Michael Johnson, he's gotten rid of them.
Yeah,
I mean,
he ain't playing around.
And that's what I mean. He better. I mean, why are you gonna pay $6 million twice for 3 sacks, or for a guy who gets beat out by your right tackle? So he's doing his job.
Let me switch gears here a little bit. And Sean, I'm gonna start with you.
Hey guys,
here we go.
Oh, the great spider is here.
Did you say the great white?
I just want to say something.
Touchdown.
If somebody wants to buy me something in the next couple weeks, please buy me a computer because I'm ready to break this thing now. And finishing what I was saying about Sean's comment about O.J. Howard, your forehead is as big as your hand right now, buddy, okay? There was no way in the world you thought O.J. Howard was going to be there at 19, neither did the Buccaneers. So.
No, nobody did.
Hey, Spider, I never said I thought he would be there, but if you remember when the draft season started, I told you that's the guy I wanted on the Bucs. And I wanted Dalvin Cook, and Dalvin Cook was on the board, and O.J. Howard was on the board. So you know what? The Buccaneers took the best player. My point was I have picked 3 out of the last 4 years the players that wind up on the Bucs. That means Jason Light. I have symmetry with Jason Light. So give me credit for that, sir.
You have something, all right. You're full of it. That's what you're full of at this point.
So
overall, the Buccaneers, draft-wise, I think they started out with 19. They go to 50. I thought they could have traded up and maybe got Dalvin Cook, but I think Rick Brown is exactly right. If you're not going to draft Dalvin Cook or another running back that's like Dalvin Cook that's going to come in right away, I think it's Doug Martin's job to lose at this point.
Yeah. I really believe, and again, we're just seeing what's on paper right now. But, just what the Buccaneers are bringing on offense, it's kind of, it's I don't know. You've got 2 tight ends and Cameron Brate. And please, folks, do not think that Cameron Brate is losing his job. No. Do not think that. Please don't even put that in your head. Dirk Cutter likes a 2 tight end set. So please don't think that by drafting this tight end, we're going to lose Cameron Brate. Cameron Brate's not going anywhere. So as long as he can stay healthy and stay on the field, he'll get his reps. And I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I think it gives you options. I think people are looking at this the wrong way. When Cameron Brate went down last year, who did you have? You had Luke Starker, you had Brandon Myers. So it provides depth. This team hasn't had that. The team has it now. And the exciting thing about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this draft is they got explosive because not only did you get a position of first round with O.J. Howard, but you also got a position with Chris Godwin in the third round as a wide receiver. Guys, how many years have we seen wide receivers in this offense go down, say like a Vincent Jackson, and you're depending on guys like Freddie Martino, players that have no business being the second or third wide receiver. Yes, they did an admirable job when they were starting, but you don't want to depend on those guys. So you get a player like a Godwin who can develop in the next couple of years, learning under Deshaun Jackson. Kind of like the same wide receiver because the Buccaneers once again go into the draft looking for speed.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
Go ahead, Sean.
Here's the thing too about this, and the reason why I was a big O.J. Howard fan at the beginning of the draft process before we realized he should be a top 10 pick is because when you look at Jameis Winston, his best game was the first game of the season when Austin Seferian-Jenkins was there, when he had Cameron Brate there. He threw for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. That was key. Then also, when you look at the fact that now, when you put everything together and you realize that, oh, by the way, I don't have to get rid of Cameron Brate. I have this tight end here. Dirk Cutter loves his tight ends. All this is going to do is just add to the mix of what Dirk Cutter can do because this is what he wants to do. He wants to use his tight ends. Jameis Winston loves his tight ends. He loves his tight ends at college. So this is a win-win for the Buc organization, in my opinion.
Yeah, most definitely. And what were you saying, Sean? I was listening to your radio show last week, and you mentioned that one of the biggest games that Jameis Winston had was with having a dynamic tight end
Right.
when Austin Seferian-Jenkins was healthy. So can you kind of expound on that a little bit? What you were talking about last week?
Well, yeah, exactly. Again, when you have a tight end like this guy who can block and receive, you open up the whole field. And I don't want to bring up Aaron Hernandez. I hate to do that because obviously what he's gone through. But when you look at what took place with him and Gronkowski, when you look at the fact that you have a coach who loves to use his tight ends, like the game has changed now. So Cameron Brate, like you said, do not think Cameron Brate is not going to be a part of this team. He's going to be a big part of this team. But now you add someone who has a 4.5 speed, who runs as fast as wide receivers, and you put him down the seam with a Deshaun Jackson and a Mike Evans on the outside. It opens up the field totally. And that running back position that some people are still kind of concerned about, it opens it up for them because you got a tight end that can block. You have a tight end that can actually be a weapon out there. Your running backs, listen, you can put me, you, Spider, Rick Brown. We all can go out there and get 1,000 yards right now because our offensive weapons, I mean, we're going to be something to be dealt with, and I don't think every team can deal with that.
And let me jump in here real quick. I just want to say this. The way defensive coordinators were game planning for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was based on the fact that you don't have a Vincent Jackson. Let's look at the end of the season where you didn't have a Cameron Brate. It was easy. It was so easy for a defensive coordinator to game plan because your main weapon was Mike Evans. Doug Martin wasn't really an effective runner at that time. And so it was very simple. And maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But defensive coordinators, it would be easy to game plan for the Bucs. And, you've got Jameis Winston, you've got Mike Evans. And then you've kind of piecemealed some running backs together. And it's not the same as the team that you see on paper this year. If they meet their potential, and I hate that word potential, I'm sorry, I'm using it. I've gone against what I believe in, excuse me. But potential, what they could potentially do, I mean, that just, it's exciting. It's got to be exciting for fans. Rick, you've been quiet over there. I know you've been listening to us go on. And I'm not trying not to sound like a homer. I'm trying to get it straight here. But I mean, do you feel the same way? I mean, as defensive coordinators, we're looking at the Buccaneers team last year. would they look at this year's team the same way with a Deshaun Jackson, a healthy Cameron Brate, and a healthy Doug Martin? And we're not even talking about any of the rookies yet.
No, I don't think so. The Bucs are definitely more explosive offensively this year than in any year that I've covered them. And again, this is on paper, but this team has a chance to have a very dynamic offense. Having said that, and looking back at last year, and a lot of people jumped on Doug because of him getting suspended at the end of the year. But let's not get it twisted. That offensive line did not open up holes for that guy last year. Yeah, that offensive line did not help him last year. And I don't care. Yes, Jacquizz Rodgers had 100 yards against Carolina and somebody else, but didn't he have like 30 carries to get there?
Right.
So even then, that's only 3 yards to carry. Right. So I'm sorry, that's more than just Doug Martin and his problems. So I just always I had to say that just because I thought too much was being, especially at the end of the year, once it happened, and we found out that he would be suspended. I think the quick thought was, oh well, that's why he hadn't had a good year because he was on drugs. No, he didn't have a good year, in my opinion, because the offensive line sucked. I don't think they played up to their potential last year.
Rick, let me ask you this, Rick. The fact that we're moving Marpet over to center, we're going to get bigger up the middle, and you got Sweezy coming back. Do you
maybe?
Right, okay. So do you think this offensive line can rebound and give them the type of protection that Jameis Winston needs, open up some of those running lanes, or you are still skeptical of this offensive line? Because that's a big question with a lot of fans out there. Do you think moving, again, Marpet over to center, Sweezy coming back, playing right guard, being in his natural position, do you think that will help, or are you skeptical?
See, I like Marpet at right guard. I like him there. And I like not Evan Smith, I'm sorry, Joe Hawley at center. I like Evan too, but I like Joe Hawley just because of his nastiness. Now, I don't know about J.R. Sweezy because I haven't seen him play in 2 years, 3 years, whatever it has been. So to automatically, and I know the Bucs are paying him a lot, but to automatically just put him at that right guard spot, I don't like that at all because I don't know if he's part of your best five. I don't know. He may be. Or could you move him to left guard and move Panfield over the right tackle? I don't know. I don't like getting rid of Hawley because I thought last year Hawley was the only guy who had a nasty streak last year. And Marquette was gaining it. But so to answer your question, I'm not sure about the offensive line still. I don't know.
And I will say this too then. I will just piggyback on this. The only thing I like, I love Hawley's nasty streak and spotter. You can jump into this. Obviously, Gene jump into this. The thing about Hawley, he was too small, and I just thought he got thrown around a little too much at that center position. And when I saw what happened with, let's say, the Falcons when they got their center, how like that changed everything. Like I think center is very important, and I think Hawley's a little bit undersized. That's why he was on the streets when the Bucs picked him up 2 years ago, because he's nasty. I get it. He's feisty, but I don't know if he controls that middle like a center really needs to control that middle. That's just me. What do you think about that, Spider or Gene?
Yeah, man, and that's the question. And predominantly a lot of the runs the Buccaneers have are up the middle, and last year didn't work out. In 2015, it was a lot better. So what happened? Was it the center position? Was it the fact he was too small? Was it the fact of some injuries happening? We're going to see this year. But I think, look, if you pay Sweezy that much money, you got to see what you have there. And his natural position is right guard. It's not left guard. So I would rather keep a guy at the natural position. And saying that, it's a risk because, like Rick says, Marpet is great at right guard. So now he's going to have to learn a whole new position. But I think overall, this is what the Buccaneers were envisioning when they picked up Sweezy. I happen to think if Sweezy doesn't get hurt last year, Marpet most likely moves to the center position. They moved Sweezy to the right guard and played Panfill at left guard. But instead, they had to shuffle, and it kind of seemed like they had to shuffle all year long. They have to get consistent in that position. They've drafted over the last couple of years. They have some guys that can fill those positions. But overall, you could see when they lost Dotson at the right tackle spot, especially in the Dallas game, guys, because they have him in that game, I think it's a different result. We saw that defensive end just turn into an all-pro versus what the Buccaneers had as backup.
He turned into Reggie White.
Right, exactly. So you take that game, you know, you could say that Jameis Winston was under pressure all year long, or you could say that was the injury situation, it was the inconsistent play, and you could also say that Winston held the ball a little bit too much because the wide receivers weren't getting open. So now you can see what the Buccaneers are envisioning in the offseason by getting so much speed and so much depth overall.
You know, and I'm glad you mentioned the wide receivers, because last season, and Spider, we talked about this. Sean, we all talked about this. You had Mike Evans, and then from Mike Evans, you had Vincent Jackson. This is before the season. This is before toe hit leather. We had Mike Evans, and then we had Vincent Jackson, and then everybody else. Nobody was able to distance themselves to put themselves in a position to be that guy. Nobody was. Everybody.
I mean, you're depending on guys like Cecil Shorts, who's coming off the street. You're depending on Freddie Martino. Nothing against Martino because he played situations. You're depending on the special teamer who went to Carolina, who escapes me right now.
Russell
Shepard.
Yeah, he's a third or fourth wide receiver. He's not a second. He played well at some instances, but that's what a third or fourth wide receiver does.
It wasn't consistent play.
Guys.
Exactly. So again, go ahead.
I was going to say, guys, we're talking about receiver right now, and let's get back into the draft. I want to talk about Chris Godwin. I really believe that that's a steal of a pick that a lot of people are not talking about. Obviously, everyone talks about O.J. Howard, but guys, you're talking about a young man who is very humble. He works, and when I look at him on film, I see and Spider, maybe you can talk about it because I know you're an FSU fan like I am, but I see Anquan Bolden, where the 4.42 that he supposedly ran in the 40, it don't show up on film, but what I do show, I saw a physical guy that some kind of way gets open, some kind of way he's catching everything 50-50 balls, and I really believe that Adam Humphries is going to have to worry about that third wide receiver position because this guy is bigger, faster, stronger than Adam Humphries, and I think obviously with Dirk Cutter, he'll put Deshaun Jackson in the slot. He'll put Mike Evans in the slot. This guy is going to get on the field, and he's someone I really believe that the Bucs are going to look back on this draft and say that was a great pick. I just believe that.
And Bucs fans that are listening to this podcast, if you are on YouTube, go check out Matt Waldman, and he broke down the gameplay for Chris Godwin. It's amazing. And basically, the one thing that stuck out to me, and I looked at other game film after this particular show that he put on, was consistent behavior. And what I saw was a player that plays to the whistle, a player that breaks back to the ball to provide help for the quarterback. Good effort as a blocker. I mean, this was a guy. The whistle's blown, and this guy is still blocking the cornerback. Thinks quickly on his feet. He's able to utilize his the one thing that he can work on that I thought that is something that's very important is being able to utilize his catching radius. He's a guy that jumps to catch the ball, but that's something that's coachable. But what I see from this guy is a guy that uses his head. I mean, you see multiple moves out of him, and I think he's a guy again that will compete with Adam Humphries to get playing time right out the gate. So that's what Jason Light wanted. He wants competition. Iron sharpens iron, and so what you want is a player out there that you can get the most out of. That's going to help you it's going to help you get these wins. You know, and Sean and Spider, you both know how pissed off I was when Lovie Smith was fired, because I was looking for consistency. I wanted consistency. I was sick and tired of coaches being here 2 years and getting fired. I thought that was ridiculous. So what Jason Licht has done, he's got his coach. They're putting in their players and they're working their system. So I'm comfortable with this. I'm happy for season ticket holders because, you know, this is the first winning football season the Bucs have had since 2010. And just imagine all the money that these season ticket holders are putting in to go watch these games. And this is important. Win now. That's what Jason Licht said when he got rid of Lovie Smith. And I think that he's putting the team in a position to do that right now. You know, until these guys get out on the field, we don't know for sure. But I'm very happy with where this team, the direction his team is going right now.
Yeah, no, and I think it goes back to Godwin. You look at his tape. Tape doesn't lie, right, guys? So
boom.
He plays the top competition at USC and Adoree Jackson, who, by the way, was a first-round pick of the Tennessee Titans.
Smoked him like a Cohiba.
And he absolutely roasted him. Yes. So that should be definitely encouraging. On top of that, he's a guy that has speed, so you can develop him. You don't necessarily have to throw him into the fire. You can have him compete with Adam Humphries because, look, Deshaun Jackson is 30 years old, so he's not going to play forever. And the Buccaneers know that. That's why you got a 3-year deal. So, again, this is a developmental guy. This is probably a still. And guys, if you ask Colin Cowherd, he loves absolutely everything the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did in this draft. He thinks it's a slam dunk. And I think this team right now, if everything works out, and there are a lot of questions. Look, the offensive line, you got some changes there. It's all got to come together, of course.
Right.
But if it does, would not be surprised if this team can win the NFC South. And I've been saying it the last couple of years, but I truly believe that this team is on the cusp of something great.
The one thing that Tampa has that they haven't had for years is consistency in the coaching department. They've got the same offensive coordinator. They've got the same defensive coordinator. And a lot of the coaches that are in there that do things behind the scenes, the scouting staff, everything's pretty much stayed consistent. And that's always a benefit for a team when you have that consistency.
So Rick Brown, let me ask you this, because we're talking about the Bucs and the consistency on defense, and we're talking about this draft right now. A lot of people are questioning our top two defensive picks that we made, whether it's the safety, whether it's the Bucs trading up again to get our linebacker. Do you think, from a defensive standpoint, we have our holes? Do you think the Bucs have helped themselves, or is that still a concern for you from a safety perspective, and maybe from that linebacker, you know, who could play some middle linebacker, but probably going to compete with Sam? What do you think?
Well, the safety, you know, I think he can come in and compete, because if you look now, I mean, the Bucs want 4 solid safeties, okay? And you have Keith Tandy, who his story is great, a special teams guy who worked hard to earn a starting spot, who seems to be always either making the play or just right there. He's always around the ball, you know. And then you still have Conti, and then you brought in J.J. Wilcox. So he can come in and get in the rotation easily. You know, so I don't think that's a bad pick. And who knows, he might be able to come in and start, although I don't think so. I don't think that's the plan right away, unless he proves it. I mean, he comes out there and beats Conti or Wilcox. I mean, who knows? And,
you know, while we're talking about that, Rick, I noticed that with that pick, you gave the Bucs a B+. And what went into your thinking as far as giving the Buccaneers a B+ on a safety, which, in my opinion, and Sean will relate to this, I've very much questioned the safety position because of what I saw last year. What are your thoughts on that, and why did you come up with the B+ rating?
Well, last year safety was one of those positions that was hit or miss with the Bucs. As much as I liked Bradley McDougald, he wasn't as consistent as I really wanted him to be, because I thought he could be a guy who could be all over the field, who could make plays. The angles that Conte was taking early in the season, and I don't know if this was, horrible.
Bigger's
and
horrible.
So, and like I said, Keith Tandy, he is who he is.
Right.
He's not the fastest. He's not, but he's
got a nose
always
for the
seems
ball,
to be. Yeah, he always seems to put himself in the right spot, and that's because of all the film work he does. And he trusts his eyes. He trusts what he sees and what he saw on film.
Those instincts.
So, but this guy that they got, this guy is more talented, I think, than yes. Well, I don't know if he's more talented than McDougald.
Well, he has a skill set.
But McDougald's no longer on the team.
And Rick,
but I think this guy, I gave him a B+ for this reason. I think he can come in. He will be in the rotation, but I think he can come in and be a starter. And anytime you can get a starter at that pit, I think you're doing a great job.
Folks, if you folks, and I want to jump in here, FanRag Sports Network, please check it out. Rick Brown's writing. I want to, Rick, if you don't mind, I'm going to read this, where you talked about one of the Buccaneers' needs in the offseason was safety. With free agent Bradley McDougald leaving for Seattle, the Buccaneers needed a playmaker in the secondary. J.J. Wilcox is a nice addition, but Justin Evans has the ability to come in and start immediately. He had 4 interceptions, 7 pass breakups as a senior. Sometimes his aggressiveness gets the best of him as he misses tackles or gets beat on a play action. Still, for a team that struggled on the back end, Evans helps instantly. I like that. I think that you're talking about a guy that he can come in and upgrade that secondary, which is something that a lot of people aren't talking about. But to me, it was something that's very vital considering what the NFC South is doing. You look at what the Saints are doing. You look at what the Carolina Panthers are doing. And then, of course, it's a team that they need no introduction for that 28-3 points they gave up in that Super Bowl, the Atlanta Falcons. But I had to put that out. We can't get distracted from that 28-3. We cannot never get distracted from a 28-3 deficit. Never.
Yeah, 25-point lead against the New England Patriots. I mean,
exactly.
how does that feel?
Don't ever let that get away from you that happened. Okay, but I'm not getting here. I'm not here to talk about Atlanta, but I'm going to get back to this here. But
lost your offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, and on top of it, you blow a 25-point lead versus the New England Patriots. You have them dead to rights. But look. To piggyback off of Rick's point, I think the reason why I give him a B+ on that is because there's uncertainty with Evans, with all the athleticism that he has. He missed 38 tackles last year, but then again, he didn't allow a play over 14 yards. So there's some good things with Evans. There's some bad things with Evans, and I would not be surprised because of how complex this defense is that Evans maybe sits back for a couple games and learns from a guy like a Conte or a Tandy, because I think there's going to be a competition process, and maybe the Buccaneers re-sign Conte because they like his playmaking ability and because he knows the defense.
He knows the defense.
They like how Tandy came on last year. So I would not be surprised if Evans doesn't start right away. But once he gets this defense, and I think he will, because you saw the progression last year in the second half with this defense and how good they could be really special because of his athleticism.
Absolutely.
So he could end up being one of the best safeties. It's gonna take some time, I think.
And the great thing about this pick, let me jump in just one. I'm gonna get you in just a second, Sean. The one thing about this, the deficiencies he has are all coachable. So let's keep it in mind. I mean, you look at his instincts. You can't coach that, but a lot of the deficiencies he has are coachable. Go ahead, Sean.
And that's all I was going to say. We're talking about his tackling ability and things of that nature. He was trying to lower the boom on players as opposed to wrapping up. All that is, a coach is going to tell him to wrap up as opposed to try to lower the boom
or sit on the bench.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Now, we're talking about Chris Conte and J.J. Wilcox. Those guys were signed to $2 million contracts, which means all you are is a backup or a rotational guy. They picked this guy high in the second round that says you're going to possibly be my main safety moving forward because of the fact that you have that range, and he's shown those instincts that Chris Conte hasn't shown, that J.J. Wilcox hasn't shown. Now, my boy Keith Tandy, he didn't show instincts. What he showed film study. He showed tape. So I think he will start. But I think the Bucs, if you look at it, they have our defensive end that we just drafted last year. You drafted Quan Alexander. You drafted Hargraves, and now you've drafted a safety. So they put themselves at every level of a defense. They have guys they drafted in the last 2 to 3 years that's going to be with them moving forward. So you guys better be prepared for that. And I'm looking for Evans. Hopefully, he can get past those missed tackles. And again, that's something that's coachable, but you can't coach those instincts that he's had. And the Bucs themselves a great service, in my opinion, on paper, upgrading themselves.
I want to ask you this, Sean, because of this whole Evans thing. Do you think he starts day one?
Well, day one, I mean, come on. I mean, look last year. I mean, we had Hargraves.
I'm just asking you now because you said Conte and Tandy and Wilcox are rotational players, but my point is
no,
they start on day one.
I would say Tandy will start from day one. I'm saying Conte and Wilcox are rotational guys because they're paying them as such. They're paying them as backups. You pay a good backup $2 million, $3 million a year. That's not starter money safety. So that guy they drafted, they're looking at him to be the starter. Now, whether or not he starts day one is just like Vernon Hargraves. Vernon Hargraves, at the beginning of the season, was playing more nickelback before they said, you know what, we're going to put you to the outside and just let you go from like week 3 on. So he's going to have to probably go through that for the first 2 to 3 weeks, but then eventually he will step into being that starter role. They said, we're going to run with you.
There you go. Bingo. That's what I'm saying. Like Wilcox and Tandy to me are going to be, or even Conte, because look, you can talk about Conte and his deficiencies and angles, but don't forget, guys, he made one of the biggest plays of the year versus the Chiefs. I mean, if you don't have that big play versus...
That's one play. That's one play. Like, I'm not going to...
That's one play that's important for the season. That's an important play. The Bears game, he made the play.
That was important. That was important for that game. All those other plays he didn't make prior to that, that was important for the season, where he's getting beat and he's taking bad angles and he's out of position. Conte made more mistakes. And you know what? How many years has he played, Rick Brown? 7 years? 7, 8 years?
How many years has he played in this defense, Sean? Come on, be fair.
But you are a safety that's played in a lot of games, that you've seen a lot of different offensive formations, that you should know what to do. The fact that he doesn't, like, I could take my guy from, let's say, the Chiefs, Eric Berry, and Eric Berry wouldn't have made all those mistakes. Okay.
You're comparing apples to oranges here, Sean. I mean, you got Eric Berry and Chris Conte.
Yeah, but there's some play. Even if you're not as good as Eric Berry.
Come on, of course Eric Berry's going to kill it. Of course.
Okay, but even if you're not as good as Eric Berry,
you think.
You should. Even if you're not as good as Eric Berry, you shouldn't look that deficient in certain.
And folks, this is what you can expect on Saturdays from 3 to 5.
Exactly. And that's why Chris Conte is only getting $2 million in his 7th, 8th year in the league, and nobody else wanted to pick him up but the Bucs.
But my point is that they thought he was such a bum, and I get it, he's making $2 million, but they thought he was such a bum, then why bring him back? Because he does have some value to this team, okay? It may be minimal value, but if you look at it, the second half of the year, he made some plays to change some games around. So again, I'm not going to sit here and say this kid's going to come in here right away and play this defense. I would be shocked. I think the Buccaneers are going to go a little conservative. They may start Tandy and Conte and then eventually work him in there. There's times where safeties are on the field. There's 3 safeties on the field. They run different formations. You're running cover 3. It gives you options. But what I'm saying is the problem with Evans is he's over-aggressive. You can coach that, but I'm a little bit worried about the missed tackles, and I'm also worried about him blowing coverages. By the way, every safety on this team has what problem? Blowing coverages.
Well, but you know what? Here's the thing, too. We were missing. Evans is very good at Some people think he can play slot cornerback. So if the fact that he's covered, because in this NFL now, because you go 3-4 wide receivers,
you have to be able to cover.
You have to have a safety that can do that. And he's one that is potentially definitely better in coverage than Chris Conte is, or his upside, I should say, is better than Chris Conte or J.J. Wilcox. And that's another reason why the Bucs drafted him, because now he can play that slot, or he can play those tight ends that Chris Conte or J.J. Wilcox may be slacking in. So don't diminish that either. Don't diminish.
I'm just trying to pin you down for a prediction, Mr. Politician. You're always on the fence. You never jump over the fence. Give me the prediction. Does Evan start from day one? Yes or no?
I've already given you my answer, bro. Did I not?
Hey, I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna jump in here. Rick Brown, round 3, you talked about Kendall Beckwith, and you gave him a rating of a C+, or that particular pick as a C+. And I wanted to get your thoughts on it. I have my thoughts on it, and I've kind of looked at the film on him, and you know, I've been told that, you know, he's going to play a specific position in strong side, or that's where they're going to put him at. But what concerns me is he can't shed blocks from like tight ends or linemen. I've you know, it's, again, I talked about behaviors. This is one of those things where I've watched him over and over and over again, and he just can't shed blocks. And I don't know, maybe I'm overlooking this or, you know, overthinking this, but it's something that if you're a linebacker, you should, I mean, especially a lineman or a tight end, you should be able to get loose to do what you need to do. Just seeing him unable to shed blocks kind of concerns me. Is that something that's coachable, or what are your thoughts on Beckwith as a potential, you know, challenger for that position?
Well, what you hope for is that your guys up front can help you out a little bit and take away a lot of the muck where your linebackers can swoop in and make plays.
Right.
You know, he played middle at LSU, and now the Bucs are obviously very happy with Quan, so they're not going to ask Quan to move. Right. So he's going to come in and try to win the SAM position, the strong side linebacker position.
But what did you see? What did you see from him that you know, that you said, okay, they probably could have did better, but they're okay with this position. I'm going to give him a C+. I mean, what went into that?
For me, what I like is the guy did play he was productive when he played. Okay, so you know he has skills, right. and so whether it's middle or strong side, I think he's fine, and he's versatile now. I mean, if he can play Sam, then you know, if something ever happens to Quan, he can just slide right in.
Yeah,
I think that's big as well.
So it's kind of a depth thing as well. As
what really concerned me was just the injury, and you know, I didn't like that the Bucs went up. Who is coming off of an injury? That just it did something to me. Honestly, it was just like, why?
You know what? I need to find the right people so I can kind of bribe them and get a look at that draft board next year, so I can have an idea of what the Bucs are trying to do.
I think it can be good.
That draft board is where it's at.
Can I say something?
Yeah, I think he can be good, but I just don't know if that right there was the move. I thought there was other players who the Bucs could have taken instead of this guy and moving up to get him and he might not even start.
I'm trying not to be a hypocrite and just kind of roll with what the general manager is doing. But I had, you know, after I watched the film on him, I had a question. What are they seeing?
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I definitely got to jump in here right now, because I like to call people homers. I guess I'm being a homer right now, but I'm gonna tell you what I like about this pick.
First goober.
Of all, yes.
Yeah. Hey, he's the general manager. He has the synergy. He knows the draft board.
First of all,
shut up.
Hold on. First of all, you got to understand, if he did not have that knee injury, he would have been a second round pick. He would have been a second.
But my question is why? Why
he did?
Okay, hold on.
What puts him in that position?
But let me finish. If he didn't have the injury, he would have been a second round pick. Okay. Now,
if I had a fifth, I'd be drunk right now.
Yeah, you would be. And I have one, and so I am.
Well, we know you're drunk the way you're talking.
Let me finish.
I mean, go ahead.
So the Bucs, though, if you remember when Mike Smith got here, he said he wanted to also play a little bit of 3-4. So now you have a guy that you can line up in a 3-4 that is lined right next to Quan Alexander. We didn't do a lot of it last year. We asked about that during the season. Where's that 3-4 we heard about? We didn't do a lot of that now, but we got a player now that can possibly fit into that role. And then also, by the way, we did not do well against the run. We have a bigger linebacker, and if you looked at the film or if you just looked at the highlights, you saw this guy laying the wood on people. So now he's a guy that's going to be able to lay the wood in a 4-3, but if you got to put the 3-4, he can definitely play the 3-4. So again, the Bucs want that flexibility. They have a guy that could have possibly went second round. So that's why they said, let's move up and get him, because we've liked this guy for 2 years. And the fact that he's still on the board, we're not going to take a chance when our 4th round draft pick comes around. We're going to move up. We're going to use our 4th round draft pick. We're going to use the 6th round draft pick, who's probably not going to make the team. And we're going to get the guy that we like. And oh, by the way, Quan Alexander likes, and he's a dog, like Quan Alexander like to say. So before I say it's wrong or they shouldn't have done it, I'm going to let that play out, because we may have a steal here. And if Quan gets hurt, who's your backup linebacker? We don't have one. Great pick, in my opinion, on paper.
You got Glanton. You've got some players on this team.
Now, Glanton.
I mean, you've got players on this. You've got players on this team. He's not.
Glanton?
You're trying to tell me that a linebacker you drafted in the 4th round coming off an ACL is going to come in right away and fill Quan's position? There's not a player on this team that's going to fill Quan's position. You lose Quan, you're going to be in trouble. So let's knock on wood with that. But I think Rick is right on this. You know, you look at the Buccaneers and they're trading up. They may see him because he is a big linebacker and he can compete with Devontae Bond, who they drafted last year, who
6th round.
Most likely, right? But he still may. You not crown him the king yet unless he wins that position. But I think there's some question marks with him because of the ACL injury and what's the recovery time. If the Buccaneers feel good about it, then let's see what he can do on the field. And we're going to see that in training camp and preseason. But
ACL.
I think anytime you draft a player that's coming off an ACL, guys, it takes usually about 2 years, right?
Well, in this day and time.
It depends on the player.
Right. In this day and time, it's a little different. Guys are rehabbing better.
I mean, you look at Revis. Revis wasn't ready after 1 year.
Right. And look how he played.
Right.
But the medicine is different. I mean, let's take. I know we're not talking basketball right now, but let's take someone like my favorite guy in Oklahoma City. You think about his injuries that he had, and you look at someone from Chicago, he didn't bounce back from it, Derrick Rose, but Russell Westbrook did, and it's just different players and different things. So they're looking at the talent, and they're saying, I will take a chance on this talent, because, again, he's a 2nd round draft pick talent, wherein Devontae Bond was a 6th round draft pick talent. So that's an upgrade. Even though you're talking about they have Bond, he's still a better talent because he's a 2nd round caliber guy, unless there's an injury there. So I'm going to go with Bond is probably going to start. I mean, not Bond, I'm sorry. Beckwith is going to start if he hits the ground running at the beginning of training camp. I think he'll beat out Bond because Bond is a 6th round talent and not a 2nd round talent.
All right.
And that 6th round talent. 6th round talent has a year in that system, though. And so
that's depth.
I think we ought to put some wings on who will be that starting middle linebacker.
Okay. Barring injury, I'm doing it right now on the podcast.
Please.
Barring injury, Mr. Rick Brown, you and I can definitely do that.
And I'm going to get on that bet because I think Bond can actually rush the passer better than Beckwith can. And because of the injury coming out, I don't know if Beckwith is going to have that explosive nature to him with that injury. So I favor Bond at this point.
You shouldn't be making any bets right now because you still owe me shrimp dinners.
Dude, I'm going to pay you off. Don't even go there with that, okay? Don't even go there with that.
I want to jump in here. And this, I realize this is a 7th-round pick. And I know I sound crazy even talking about the 7th round pick.
No, you don't.
Stevie Tuikolovasu is a guy.
God bless you.
Say it again.
Stevie Tuikolovasu.
Okay.
I practice this. I love this guy's story. The fact that he lived out of the back of his SUV until his housing was together. I mean, that just shows his dedication to the game.
Sure.
I'm excited about him competing. I know this is a position to me, and maybe you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I know we've had next to Gerald McCoy. Goodness, I can't think of the guy's name.
Clint McDonald.
No, not Clint McDonald. McDaniels. You had McDonald. You had McDaniels. You had a bunch of players, but have you had anybody that really comes in to compete for that position next to Joe McCoy? And what do you guys think about them paying a little bit more attention to that position to try to get somebody in there?
I think it's definitely a need because when you go out and get Chris Baker, who's a guy that can penetrate the line and blow things up, that's what they're looking at. Baker also brings
and rotation. So this guy would be basically Stevie T. We'll call him Stevie T. Would be a rotation person then.
Well, if you look at Pro Football Focus, they actually say in all of college football he was second versus the run, right behind Solomon Thomas. Solomon Thomas was a first-round pick, so that's pretty good. So the Buccaneers saw tape. They see a big body. He can take up maybe 2 players, can take that pressure off, open it up for a guy like Ayers and Spence on the edges. So definitely, and the Buccaneers lacked that last year because, like you said, Clint McDonald was out, McDaniels. McDaniels. The only thing you're missing is McNuggets at this point. They need to definitely fill that position with some bodies, and they did that with Big Stevie T from USC.
No Akeem Spencer. Akeem Spencer's gone. So
yeah, there you go. Another one.
This is your rotation now. I mean, and so
how comfortable as fans, Rick? How comfortable as fans should we be with what they have right now in that position?
Oh, sure. At defensive tackle, you should be very happy. You got G-Mac, you got Chris Baker who could play either 3 or nose. You got veteran Clint McDonald, and then you got Stevie T, who is just a big body. Who you should be happy because of. And bro,
he's got nice footwork.
Rotation.
You would be surprised how nice his footwork.
You got a nice 4 guys who can play, who can interchange for the most part, and who can just give you a nice little rotation when someone gets tired. So I like their defensive tackles right now.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget, you have Robert Ayers who can play inside and also William Golston who can play inside. So basically the Buccaneers are versatile on the defensive line as well as the offensive line.
And guys, I want to kind of go down, and I'm talking from the rookies from the draft all the way to the undrafted free agents. Is there anybody out there, and Sean, I'm going to start with you, anybody out there that stands out that you are really looking at to make this team and help this team get better? So I'm going to start with you.
Are you talking undrafted free agents?
Yeah, I'm including everybody from drafted to undrafted.
And the free agency?
And free agency, yeah, absolutely.
Well, obviously the 2 that's going to stick out to me is Deshaun Jackson and O.J. Howard. I mean, you put that there, like I said, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but
you already know what they're going to do.
I definitely will, but I target O.J. Howard. I think if you put him on that,
let's talk about the unknown. We know what the known is, but let's
talk about the unknown. If it's unknown, then I'm gonna stay with Chris Godwin. I just think that he's a guy that's going to come in. The coach, his college coach. I don't know if you guys read this article. His college coach said that this guy doesn't go out. He doesn't drink or anything like that. He don't party. He said he's the type of guy that I want my daughter, like I would like my daughter to marry. He has 2 daughters. He said, oh, by the way, Chris Godwin is actually dating his high school sweetheart, who happens to be his high school coach's daughter. You see what I'm saying? So this guy is a guy that's going to come in and work hard and do what it takes to be successful. He's not going to be getting caught up with the glitz and the glamour. He had an opportunity to do that in high school or in college, and he didn't take advantage of it then. He's not going to take advantage of it now. That's why, again, I go back to say, when I looked at him on film, he reminded me of Anquan Bolden, and I think that's possibly what we got with the Steelers. Obviously, you got to put it on film. We got to see him do it. But I think the Bucs are going to be very happy with Chris Godwin coming out of Penn State.
All right, we go on with Chris Godwin for you, Sean. Peter, I'm going to go to you next. Let's get your guy.
Yeah, I think it's Jeremy McNichols, because everybody assumes that it's going to be Doug Martin's going to be the starter. But why draft a running back in the 5th round? You already had Jacquez Rodgers. You've already have Charles Sims. You already have Peyton Barber. So is McNichols more a part of this plan? Because what you hear is he's got great hands, he's got good speed, he's got good production. So a challenge for the starting running back job. And then I'll go back to undrafted free agents. There's this kid out of Mississippi State who was one of the leading tacklers in college football, didn't get drafted. Why? Maybe this is a guy that makes special teams, and maybe this is a guy that Sean likes to say is a backup at the middle linebacker position. Maybe it's not Beckwith. Maybe it's this kid. His name escapes me right now. I believe it's Richie Brown out of Mississippi State. So, and this kid has a great story too, because he was down here when he was 11 years old, and his father was talking to him about playing for the Buccaneers, and now he's playing for the Buccaneers. So it's kind of a nice story. Another player I would look at is the quarterback position, and I know we had Jameis Winston, but there are some questions about the backup position, even though the guy they have there as backup knows the system.
We're screwed if Jameis goes down.
Yeah,
we're screwed.
I don't like our backup position. And
I'm saying this kid out of Colorado is wait a minute. He had 60 He had 60 touchdowns and 35 interceptions. He's also the nephew of the throwing Samoan Jack Thompson.
Jackson.
That's what I want to say.
So
I'm not comfortable just based off that.
But Mike, wait. The question is, wait a minute now. I know what you're saying, but the question is, did the Buccaneers bring him in here to challenge for that position? And is he a developmental guy? Because again, maybe they found something. That's what I'm looking at. He's asking me who I'm looking at. I'm not looking.
Yeah, there we go.
These guys are going to start, and his name is
just who sticks out. Who sticks out to you? And yeah,
right.
You know what? I like that. I you know what? I've actually got a Jack Thompson Topps card.
Do you?
Yeah.
You haven't burned it yet, sir.
It was a terrible trade at the time, because of course it leads to the Buccaneers not having a number 1 pick in 1983. Of course,
and it also leads to the Bucs getting rid of Doug Williams for the throwing someone. So
yeah, I agree with you totally.
But this card lives in infamy, and I'm just glad I have it.
I have it. I mean, what's the backup? What's the backup's name at this point? Because I don't care. I hope Jameis Winston.
Ryan Griffin.
Okay, yeah, Ryan Griffin. So they pick up this guy out of Colorado, and again, he's productive quarterback. And what you hear from Thompson is, he's got the intangible qualities, and it reminds him of Marcus Mariota. Maybe the Buccaneers pick this guy up, put him on the practice squad, and in a couple of years, he's your backup quarterback. That's all I'm saying. Look for these type of things.
I hope you're right. I mean, why wouldn't we go get Colin Kaepernick right now, Rick Brown?
We don't want to go there tonight. We don't want to go there.
Listen.
Not tonight.
Don't
not
do
tonight.
Because
we'll be here for another 35 minutes, and I will get louder and louder. I'm gonna let her sleep, and I'm not gonna get too. But on Saturday we can talk about it if you give me 2 segments.
Oh, hey, listen, sir.
He's got your own segment.
You're gonna have all the segments you want.
That's right.
Yes, because he's the DNA of the sports web. He chaser, no filter at all, no chaser. That's what we love. He brings
straight
it
no chaser.
Up. That's right.
Straight no chaser. You
That's
know,
right.
what I'm hoping for is I'm going to help since D-Jack's, Jackpot, I know he's coming from Washington. I'm going to introduce him to Florida life and take him to some establishments down Odell Mabry or somewhere like that.
Cuban sandwich and a devil crab, man. That'll be perfect. And throw some boiled peanuts. Give him some boiled peanuts, man. He'll fall in love.
Adam Pac-Man Jones, easy with that, okay? We don't need that.
Rick, when you take him, let me know.
Yeah, because I just get him a pressed Cuban sandwich and a devil crab, and he'll be all right. He may catch for more than 10,000 yards after eating that.
Rick, I don't think they understand what you said, but when you do it, let me know.
I know what he's saying there, Adam Pac-Man Jones, and I don't necessarily want him in the strip club unless he's got a chaperone like a Rick Brown. I think Rick Brown will take care of him.
Hey, maybe just make sure you get
the
him
script
Cuban
club.
Sandwich,
You got to say it right. The script club.
That's number one.
You gotta say it right. The script club.
Right.
And guys, I know everybody's kind of giving their guy, but my guy, and I know you guys are gonna think I'm crazy, but Evan Pamphile, defensive end from Purdue, going up against Kevin Pamphile.
Who?
Evan Pamphile.
Who?
Defensive end. He's undrafted. He's undrafted, but his name is Evan Pamphile going up against Kevin Pamphile. I think that would be excellent just to be able to say that in camp. Evan Pamphile going up against Kevin Pamphile.
Sean, is that your guy? Did you pick him?
No, first of all, obviously Gene said it was his guy. I'm just surprised that Spider, being the FSU homer that he is, he didn't call Bobo Wilson.
Yeah,
because we got Bobo Wilson.
We got Bobo Wilson, but you know what? We're stacked at that position. But it'll be interesting to see because again, he brings an element to the Buccaneers' offense that they have this year. That's speed. So it'll be very interesting to see what he brings. But yeah, I wanted to stay away from that because I got burned last week. Thanks a lot, Sean, for reminding me about Dalvin Cook. All right, thanks a lot.
Spider, you didn't get burned. You're doing your job, man. You're a broadcast journalist. You're putting that stuff out there. That's who you thought would benefit the Bucs, and that's how you have to look at it. And that's the only way you need to look at it. So, to me, that was who you. Me personally, I didn't have a horse in the race. I want the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win. I want to see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs, so I can go to a game.
Here's my question to you guys. Here's my question.
You want to go to the bar and be able to talk about your team and brag on your team.
Absolutely.
Here's my question to you guys, all of you guys on the panel. If O.J. Howard isn't there at 19, do you think they take Dalvin Cook, yes or no?
I'm going to say no.
I think they, based on what I heard, I believe they would.
I'm going to say no. And the reason why I'm going to say no is because he didn't go until late in the second, middle second round. There were a lot of things that were coming up about his off the field. I actually think the Bucs would have possibly traded down if the cornerback wasn't there that Tennessee picked. I think the Bucs would have tried to look at getting extra picks and moving forward that way. I don't know if they were so zeroed in on Dalvin Cook, and I was saying that during the whole draft process. I just don't know because he did have the off-the-field issues, and we talked about Joe Mixon and his off-the-field issues. I just think the Bucs felt as though they could either trade down or get the guy that they wanted at 19 without the baggage. And that's why I don't know if they would have went with him, in my opinion.
I do think they were going to trade down if OJ was not there. If OJ wasn't sitting there, I think they were going to trade down because they wanted someone else. And I haven't figured out who is it that they really wanted. But
you need to get sources and find out who that was. So
Jason Light said, I don't know if it slipped but he said in a roundabout way that, and then, we could have done a lot of things, but, who knew that the tight end would be there, and I was just like,
that wasn't what they were. They weren't expecting.
Hey, Rick, also, if you remember before the draft, he said that we're not making our pick based on what the fans want. We're making our based on long term. So even though a lot of the fans that are Florida State fans here in Tampa wanted Dalvin Cook, they were not going to just pigeonhole themselves into getting Dalvin Cook because the fans wanted him. And to me, that statement said a lot to me. Then, you know, obviously when we got there at 19 and he was still on the board, that said a lot to me.
Yeah, well, Douglas O'Connor, who's watching the podcast, was saying that he believed that they would trade down as well. He believed that they would have gotten extra picks.
Maybe they would have used that extra pick on something else. But
yeah, most definitely.
You know, me, I don't necessarily think it was just fans that were pushing it. I think if you look at Cook would do, how we fit the system, what the need was. But again, if the Buccaneers were impressed by, you know, a camp with Martin and they believe in him, then, you know, then it's mute at this point. It really is, because they believe that Martin and their guys are going to be fine. But I don't think it was necessarily fans. I think people saw, look, there's Jameis Winston, there's Dalvin Cook. They know each other. He fits the offense. He can do a lot of things. The people say, well, he's got a lot of issues and this and that and the other thing. Well, this was a team that interviewed Joe Mixon who had a lot of issues too. And then you talk about the injury situation with Dalvin Cook. Yeah, he had an injury situation, but the kid they just drafted, McNichols, he's coming off a shoulder injury. Right. So what the hell are we talking about?
Yeah, but we're talking about
let me jump in. Let me jump in here real quick, because I know that we're going to discuss this on Saturday from 3 to 5. I know this is going to come up. I just want to get your thoughts on this. If you know, Dalvin Cook wasn't, let's say he got picked, who would have been your next pick, Spider, if Dalvin Cook's not available?
If Dalvin Cook is not available, yeah, I was looking at it, you know, maybe a Taco Charlton, maybe a Charles Harris, maybe a Jabril Peppers. Although I wouldn't say
who do you think? I mean, at the 19 position, based on all the crazy trades and stuff like that, out of the people that were available, who helps the Bucs the most in that position if a Dalvin Cook is gone?
Oh, I definitely think an O.J. Howard or even a Njoku from Miami would have helped this team out. I also think you could look at pass rusher, because I think, again, there's major questions with this team. You've got Ayers, you have Spence coming off a shoulder injury. You got Jockey Smith coming back, but again, you can always improve on that position. So, look, if Dalvin Cook was off the board and O.J. Howard was off the board, you look at a pass rusher. If they thought safety was on their board and they thought Peppers, I would have stayed away from Peppers, because I think, you know, that decision overall was stupid before the draft. I think it's a stupid decision.
What do you mean? What
you
decision?
Got the biggest, the decision to do drugs and to come out and say, well, I was drinking water and do. I don't believe any of that.
We don't know.
We don't know that. You know, that's
I think it's crap, because I think the general managers wait a minute, Sean. I think there were general managers out there saying, you're not fooling us. That's why he slipped down, because this guy was looked at as a top 15 pick. He had the ability.
When a pro has a test like that, they retest him. That's pretty much
it didn't turn up.
Spider, not only that, there are a lot of people that drink a lot of water, and their tests can get diluted on regular drug tests, and that's what happens. So to say the reason why it was diluted because he was on drugs, when you're talking about a young man who was crying because he couldn't play in the bowl game, he didn't sit out the bowl game like Christian McCaffrey. He didn't sit out the bowl game like Leonard Fournette. He sat out the bowl game because he got hurt during warm-ups, and he couldn't play, and he was crying. And everything you hear about this young man is on the up and up. To just go out and flat out say that he did drugs and everything like that, that is reckless. And I can't co-sign on that.
I don't think it's reckless. When there's general managers saying out there, coming out and saying, does he think we're stupid? They have a little bit more intel than you do. And I look at his draft slide. He was a guy.
They don't have no intel.
Wait a minute. He was a draft. This is what was reported in the news. Now you can believe it or you cannot believe it. You can look in the mirror and talk to the guy every day, and he can tell you what to believe. But I'm telling you right now, if you look at all the comments where the general managers come out and saying, does this guy think we're stupid? And you look at his drop as a guy that was supposed to be a top 15 pick.
No, he was going to 20 anyway. He was like around the 20.
He didn't go at 20. He didn't go at 20. He went almost at the bottom of the first round, and there's a reason. And look, I have a problem. I have a problem with anybody that's going to do something stupid before the biggest job interview of their life. That's like you coming to work and you wanting this job and being drunk before you interview. It's stupid. That's a stupid decision. I get it. He's a kid. I get it. He deserves a second chance. But at the end of the day, Rick
Brown, jump in here. Are you telling me you believe this guy went out there and failed the drug test and he was trying to dilute his sample?
Hey, the Carolina Panthers have signed running back Christian McCaffrey, Taylor Moore, and 6th-round draft pick Alex Armah. Wow, we got that done real quick. But to answer your questions, I just had to throw that news out there on Buc What You Heard.
Thank you. Good.
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what these guys are thinking with who takes the supplements to guys who are just outright smoking weed or whatever. And no matter what people think about marijuana, in 48 states, it's illegal. I mean, so you don't, and in the NFL, it's illegal, no matter where you are. Yeah. Don't do it. It's just don't put yourself in that. And I don't know what it was. I didn't read up on it, and I don't care. I just get sick and tired of hearing every year some guy get busted for.
Thank you.
So I guess my question is, you think that Jabril Peppers actually was trying to cover up mass drug use?
I don't know what he was doing, but why put yourself in that situation?
Thank you. Why do that? I mean, you're biggest job interview of your life. You could be a millionaire, and you decide to put yourself in that situation. That's like saying, you know what?
Here's my question. So you guys have never heard of someone who never doing drugs, drinking a lot of water that could seem like their water sample or their drug sample or their piss test, has been diluted? Like you've never heard of that?
No, I have never heard that.
I've never heard of it.
I have never heard that. Because if you drink, I mean, they encourage you to drink a gallon of water a day. That is what people encourage you, or 64 ounces. I don't know if that's a gallon. I can't remember it. No, that's a half gallon. So they encourage you to drink that a day.
Okay.
So
Jabril
drinking
Peppers
that a day shouldn't dilute your. That shouldn't dilute your. No, that wouldn't be cause for dilution. So if you're drinking more than that.
So if you're
ultimately that falls on the Cleveland Browns and whatever the heck they got going on over there.
They drafted Caleb Brantley. I mean, they've drafted character guys. We'll see if it works out. They're talented guys, but they got character issues. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm just saying it's stupid. It's like Rick said. Don't we get tired of hearing this every year? I mean, there's always a draft prospect that fails a drug test before. I mean, hello, you're going to Indianapolis and
the one thing I will say is Tampa is not experiencing that right now.
Thank God for that. But I mean,
knock on wood right now, but they have their own issues.
Mercer was enough.
Adderall to whatever.
Yeah, but Mercer was enough for me. So the good thing is, I think that this team is pointing in the right direction. And guys, hard as is believe, we've actually gone an hour and a half. Let's talk sports. Unbelievable. And I really didn't get to touch on everything I wanted to, but I did get to talk about Evan Panfield going up against Kevin Panfield in practice. That's something that I want to see. I want to hear somebody report on that. Rick Brown, please report on that if you see it. Kevin Panfield going up against Evan Panfield.
I tell you what, if Evan Panfield makes the is invited to training camp, and they go up against each other, I'll try to take a picture of it for you.
Thank you so much. I want to see this.
We're on the sports web.
Let me say this. Let me ask you this, Gene.
Yeah.
Are we about to get off the podcast right now?
Yeah, here shortly. But I just want
to. Because I gotta go to sleep, and I didn't know it was going to be this long.
You need your beauty sleep, John. You really need to.
I'm just messing with you. But I will say this, Gene. I've seen people's man caves and everything like this, but for your bedroom to be set up like a man cave, I gotta give you props, my brother. I'm looking at Buccaneer sheets and Buccaneer cabinets and red cabinets. I gotta give you.
Hey guys, this is a work in progress. By the time the season rolls around, we'll be back in business.
Sounds good.
I love it. I love it.
Hey, just leave the Buccaneer thongs away, all right?
Oh, please, don't even say that. Why do you even bring that up, Rick Brown?
No, man, we don't need that image. We don't need that image on Buc What You Heard, man. We just don't need that. Well, guys, thank you so much. Saturday, I am so excited about the show on Saturday. Rick Brown, what time are you guys gonna have Rick Brown on?
You know what? I think we may have him on earlier, or we may have him on at 4:06 like we always do. It depends on Rick Brown. Rick Brown is the man, and we have him on anytime he wants to come on. At 4:06. He's the man on fire. He makes Denzel Washington look like a wet rag. That guy's got charisma for days. He's got more buzz than the Charlotte Hornets. He's got as many nicknames as Apollo Creed and Rocky 2, Rocky 3, and Rocky 4. How's that for that? Huh? I like that.
I love it.
Good, yeah.
Remember, I'll be at rookie minicamp. So I think Dirk Cutter comes on around 3:30 or so. So I have to go regular time more than likely.
Okay, good to go.
Hey guys,
If not,
thank you so much, Rick Brown.
Yes.
What's the next article you have coming up on FanRag Sports?
Tomorrow, going back to my home conference, the NFC East, and we're going to grade how did the Philadelphia Eagles fare in the NFL draft. Might surprise you what I wrote. Check it out, fanragsports.com.
I think the Eagles have done a great job. That division, I think I said it on the show last week. I think the NFC East, NFC South, those are the two toughest divisions in the NFL. Can't wait to see how they play off, because I don't think you can nail down who's going to win that division. That's the only division I think you won't pick a winner, because I think all four teams can make a case for winning that division.
And guys, for me, this is where I get more petty. I get more petty as we get closer to the season. I don't care about Cleveland. I don't care about Philadelphia. I don't care about Washington. The NFC East. They can all go down the flames.
Washington, you got to get your head right. You better watch
they can all
your
go down the
boy.
flames for the NFC South, and forget about the NFC South. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers is what we're talking about right here.
Hey, Rick Brown, don't you wear another Redskins hat to the Buccaneer practice again.
Excuse me, sir. Rick Brown has never, ever worn an NFL.
Oh, that's right.
Anything NFL. He has never worn anything NFL to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
You're right.
No,
it was the Lakers.
Now he has worn Washington Capitals, Washington Nationals, as well as Washington Wizards stuff.
So for me, that was for me.
And as well as KA Psi, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Yo, noobs. So yeah, that's what you see me in.
See, I'm not worried about the news.
Yes, my friend.
I saw the Washington stuff, so I already, I kind of looked read between the lines. Don't do that. Tampa Bay all day, TPA. That's where we stay. Folks gotta stand up. All that you talk about. That's what
because and like what Sean is saying, you might get called out if I hear about the Redskins hat. There's just no place for it.
Hold on. Let me tell y'all.
Hat. He's
let me tell y'all one thing, okay?
I heard.
Even though I am not with a newspaper, I am with FanRag Sports.
Right.
And I am a journalist.
Therefore, and that's what I appreciate about you.
And so, no, that would be disrespectful. You don't do that. No, I wouldn't do that. Just like I wouldn't wear a Buccaneer stuff there. That's not journalism. That's fanism. I can't do that.
That's
Sorry. I can't do that. That's not me. That's not how I roll.
He's a pretty good dancer too, by the way. He's caught Dirk Cutter's attention, I've heard.
Okay, yeah, you will see me dancing on the sideline. So okay, all right. Yes, that is true. That's true.
Hey, Spider will wear a Buc hat to the practices.
You shut up. I will not. I've never done that before. Be quiet. Those are the voices talking in your head again, Sean the Sports Don. I swear to God, man. Who's talking to you? Is it the guy in the mirror every day? You got to tell that guy in the mirror that you look at when you get up in the morning and you brush your teeth to shut the hell up. Seriously.
I love to be in the mirror, brother.
Yeah, I know you do. You're like Terrell Owens, man. You love you some you.
I love
Hey, Gene, thank you for having me on the show again.
I really appreciate everybody that was checking out the podcast, everybody that was in live chat, Albino Rhino.
Thanks, guys.
O'Connor. Let's see who else was up here. Eric was on here. Goodness. Yeah, we had quite a few people. Eric Moreno, Sean
Find me on
Nelson.
Twitter, Rick Brown 91.
So everybody that contributed, I really appreciate it. You guys, thank you. Sean and Peter, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you. Sean, oh, for the record, Sean doesn't deal with social media too much, so you kind of have to defer to Peter for anything that's modern. So I just want to put that out there. You can go ahead and put that tape back on your camera now. And
that's right, Sean. That's it, Sean. Sean is like that.
That lets you know how I don't deal with social media. I got tape on my camera, brother. Are you kidding me? That's
Sean is paranoid.
You can put that tinfoil back on the antennas now.
Sean keeps on talking to the person in the mirror every day, and the mirror keeps on telling him, don't get on social media. He's the Howard Hughes of social media. But if you want to tune into the only FM sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area on Saturday afternoons from 3 to 5, it's the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk radio. We give you your own walk-up music. We let you call in twice, and we don't hang up on you. On Saturday afternoons on the Tan Talk Sports Network, he's Sean the Sports Don. I'm Peter Blake, and we are
giving you something
to think about.
There we
That's
go.
Right.
And Gene, I will say this. Next time I come on, let's take some of those questions from them fans you got following us on that podcast. Let's get them involved. Man.
Yeah, we've got some pretty knowledgeable cats out here that they know what they're talking about. Douglas O'Connor is a regular listener. The guy, he's got a high football IQ. He's been, really commenting on some things. Rick Brown, I want to jump over to you because I really appreciate you being on, not being a Bucs fan, but being somebody that follows the Bucs and you are in the know on a lot of stuff. I appreciate you taking time to get on. And as we get closer to camp, I want to get you guys back on again to get your thoughts on, where the team is progressing. And again, tell everybody what you're working on and how they can get a hold of you, whether it's on, whether it's on Twitter or FanRag Sports or Facebook or whatever you got going on.
Yeah, definitely find me on Twitter at Rick Brown 91. That's Rick Brown 91. Hit me up, ask me questions. I'm not gonna lie to you. If you follow me, I'm gonna say thank you. I usually don't follow a lot of people back, but if you ask me a question, I will hit you back. So please interact with me. I interact with you, and find me on Saturdays around 4:06 on the Sports Web with those two knuckleheads right there, because
they definitely keep it interesting.
We've been kicking it for a while. And read my stuff at fanragsports.com.
All right.
Yeah.
And guys, thank you everybody that's checked out the podcast. I want to thank the people that were interacting with me. If you do have any questions, hit me up on Twitter at Super Heavyweight. I'll answer your questions. I'll get them on. I'll make sure to get them on the podcast at some point, and definitely get your questions answered. And I try to be as straight about this. I try not to be a homer. I love this team. Been a fan since the 70s, and it's just been my team. So that's me. That's who I am. I'm a Bucs fan, huge Bucs fan. So please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the show. Every Thursday at 10 o'clock Eastern time, I have a different guest on. We'll see who we have on next week. Just never know. But a shout out to some of your other podcasts. And I want to make this point clear. I'm not in competition with any other podcast that's out there. I will definitely rep your podcast if you want me to, like the Pewter Plank. Those guys out there do a great job, and they have a great podcast, and I hope that people can get a chance to listen to them as well. And there are other ones. Real Bucs Talk, the blog spot, great place to get Buccaneers information as well. So yeah, keep in mind, we're all Bucs fans. At the end of the day, we want to win that Super Bowl. Something that Atlanta and Carolina don't know anything about, but it's definitely something that we do know about here in the NFC South. And please, folks, just remember this. The Atlanta Falcons did give up a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl
25
points. Yeah, exactly. To the New England Patriots. I don't want anybody to ever forget that, and don't be distracted from that fact. So that's pretty much it for me. Guys, thank you for being on. And that's the show for tonight. Peace.